morning. Great, fantastic, marvelous morning. Great, fantastic, marvelous morning. Why? Because our Creator woke you up this morning, woke me up this morning, and for that we should give Him the praise, the honor, the glory, the hallelujah, and the acknowledgement. Yes, this is Edwina B, Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, as you can see, in my natural form. Do we got a topic today? Filling the void, right? So, before I get started, let me play my testimonial song for today, right? I got joy. I got joy. Then we'll come back to our topic, and I may or may not explain this, but guess what? If you see it, there's no need to explain it, because I got joy. My God chose me to wake up this morning to sit before you now or later. Why? Because we can breathe and we are alive. Do you have joy? The world didn't give it to you, and the world can't take it away. I got joy. Listen, okay? I've got joy on the inside. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. No, I've got joy on the inside. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. When I think of your goodness, all that you've done for me, it gives me joy, joy, joy down in my heart. When I think of your mercies and all that it means to me, it gives me joy, joy, joy down in my heart. I've got joy on the inside. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. I've got joy on the inside. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. I am grateful, 'cause you've been faithful. Now I got the joy, joy, joy down in my heart. He always turns me around, and now I'm on solid ground. Now I got the joy, joy, joy down in my heart. I got joy inside. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. I've got joy inside. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Joy, joy down in my heart. I've got the joy, joy, joy down in my heart. I've got the joy, joy, joy down in my heart. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. I got the joy, joy, joy down in my heart. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Nobody's gonna take it from me. Woo! Wow! Do you have joy? Do you have joy?
you can see I have tremendous joy. Yes, I do. On February the 22nd of 1990, in the streets of Philadelphia, 3 o'clock in the morning, I put myself underneath a parked car because I was saving my life from my stepson who was trying to do harm to me after getting high and doing all sexual favors for him. I had hopelessness, helplessness, powerlessness. Yes, I was spiritually bankrupt, spiritually dead. Yes. Putting myself underneath that parked car, my life flashed before me. How at the age of 34, Edwina, did you get underneath this parked car? Aspirations of being a model, a phys ed teacher, an actress, vice president of your class, co-captain of the cheerleader team. How did you get underneath this parked car? Tell me, Edwina, what is wrong with you? The bad side of addiction, the rapes, the beat-ups, the setups, being spit on, called all kinds of names, passed around like a bucket. I even committed murder as a prostitute because I was afraid of how the world would judge me. But I went down in a place that's only reserved for the Creator himself that I didn't know. But I cried out, I said, whoever they say you are, 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 take me out this life now. Take me out this life now, or show me a better way. Show me a better way. That day, joy entered my life, and nobody can take it from me. 33 years later, on February the 23rd of 2023, we will be celebrating 33 years. Yes. And as a result of my celebration anniversary, I am hosting several events during the month of February. And as you can see in the caption, right, I'm kicking off, relaunching my world tour, Free to Hope, from recovery, emerge empowered, to give hope to others, help others prosper equally, and sharing with you my journey to transparency and authenticity. Yes, I can sit before you right here, right now, just as I am. Underneath that parked car, I only weighed 90 pounds. I didn't have any teeth except for a couple. There were dark circles around my eyes. My face was sunken in. But through the spiritual principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, who I do not represent, and now incorporating the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family, who I do not represent, and now the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja of P3 University, who I don't represent now, but I represent the God of all of us, because he put joy in my life. Nobody can take it away. He accepts me just the way I am. I accept me just the way I am. You can't get no more transparent than this. No makeup, no wig. Why? Because he accepts me just the way I am. This is just the vessel. But do you feel my spirit? Do you feel my spirit? So take your mind off this physical messenger and listen to the spiritual message. Okay? So I'm going to do something different. I'm going to share my experience, strength, hope, perspective on the AA Daily Reflections today, Feeling the Void. Get it? Feeling the void. I got a sense of humor. That's why they call me Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, right? And so, feeling the void. And so, it's going to be interesting because what's going to happen during this session, we're going to see how the spiritual principle of step 2, right, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to soundness of mind after accepting our powerlessness over alcohol and that it made our lives unmanageable. But that's just the drug. That's just the alcohol. That's just the outside substance of trying to deal with inner issues that could not be satisfied because it takes a spiritual transformation to deal with inside issues. Okay? And so let's get started. Let me see. Let me take a couple sips of this ginger tea. Okay. And I got my whistle. No pun intended. Okay. And so I just believe in having fun. So, yes, I have my little cuckoo for Cocoa Pop glasses, right? They only cost $1. And y'all know my teeth are right here, but I'm going to do the whole show without them, right? And I will demonstrate how we can still be ourselves without the mask. Okay, so let's get into the reading today. All right, so let me take this one off and put this one in, and it's called February the 3rd, Perspective with Edwina B, y'all, Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, AA Daily Reflections, Feeling the Void, incorporating the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family and transformational teachings of Dr. Sonja. Y'all ready? Open up your spiritual ears, open up your spiritual eyes, and let this message put joy in your life. All right? All right, let's go. Okay. Here we go. It says here, February the 3rd, Feeling the Void, right? And our co-founders, right from the big book, I got to get the page number. And it says, we needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe that there is a power greater than myself? As soon as a man can say that he does believe or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he is on his way. Okay? And the person in recovery writes, I was always fascinated with the study of scientific principles. I was emotionally and physically distant from people while I pursued absolute knowledge. God and spirituality were meaningless academic exercises. I was a modern man of science. Knowledge was my higher power. Given the right set of equations, life was merely another problem to solve. Yet, my inner self was dying from my outer man's solution to life's problems, and the solution was alcohol. In spite of my intelligence, alcohol became my higher power. It was through the unconditional love which emanated from AA people and meetings that I was able to discard alcohol as my higher power. The great void was filled. I was no longer lonely and apart from life. I had found a true power greater than myself. I had found God's love. There is only one equation which really matters to me now. God is in AA. Woo! I got joy. I got joy. I got joy. Oh, I got joy, right? So, okay, all right. Now, if you focused on the title, Feeling the Void. Now, let's become open-minded, okay? Let's use something that we can understand, put into perspective by asking ourselves, What does filling the void mean? Filling the void of loneliness, filling the void of being hungry, filling the void of being sick. How do we fill the void with all of these adversities that we experience here on life? Donald Lawrence says it so eloquently. We are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. We are a spiritual being living and walking this natural experience on this journey called Earth. So that means, right, we are going to feel a whole feel, F-E-E-L. We are going to feel a whole lot of voids. But how do we, F-I-L-L, fill those voids? You got it? All right, so let's marinate and dissect these sayings, okay? He says here, our co-founder, we needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? All right, I'm glad you asked the question. Do I now believe, or am I willing to believe that there is a higher power? Okay, so come on, let's go back. Let's go back in our history. Okay, let's go back in our history. What are some of the examples that you believed in? You believed that you was going to wake up the next morning. You believed that you were going to go to work. You believed that your car was going to start. You believed that your parents was going to cook you breakfast. You believed that your husband or wife was going to be faithful to you. You wanted to believe, all right? And you did believe until, right? And then the essence of us wanting to believe, the willingness to believe, And I believe, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, that instinctively our higher power has put in us a belief system that no earthly adversity can address, take away, or feel. Okay? And so ask yourself the short questions. Here we go. Okay? It says we needed to ask ourselves but one question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? As soon as a man can say that he does believe or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he is on his way. Underneath that parked car, when I hollered out to this God that I didn't know, heard about, but didn't have a personal relationship with, I believed that God was a punishing God, as I was told, Edwina, you bad girl, God not going to forgive you. When I had that abortion, I didn't believe that God would forgive me. And I said, whatever happens to me, I believed I deserved it. Right? And so underneath that parked car was my first spiritual, meaningful, humble cry to believe that this God was either going to take me out or he was going to show me a better way. I believe in one or the other because I was done. So that's when my journey of spiritual belief began, because I had no idea what the future held, but I knew what I learned and what I was leaving back there. And I believed undoubtedly that I did not want to go back there underneath that parked car. Hell to the no. So he set me on a pathway. And I recognized then that there is a power greater than me. Yes, in you. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, I get all wrapped up, whatever. Okay, so then he says, the person in recovery says, I was always fascinated with the study of scientific principles. I was emotionally and physically distant from people while I pursued absolute knowledge. He was always fascinated by scientific, right, knowledge. A part of this journey. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, fascinated, right? It consumed him. It consumed him. I can't put it more simpler than that. It consumed him that he had to have scientific knowledge, fascinated by it, mesmerized by it. Okay, but let's see what happens, right? He says here, right? I was emotionally and physically distant from people while I pursued this absolute knowledge, right? Huh? Right? Here he wanted to focus on scientific principles, right? That would give him the absolute knowledge, right? And that's okay, because you have to go through and get through in order to come through to achieve that knee bowing experience, no matter what your belief system was before. What is it now? And anything that's going to separate you from man and God, we don't see it. We don't see it. You know, the five agreements talk about us being in a fog. We just don't see it. And guess what? That's real. It's the truth. We don't see it. We don't see it. Right? And so we're going to tell you how to get to see it. All right? When you have that knee bound experience. Okay. So now he says, God and spirituality were meaningless academic exercises. God and spirituality was a meaningless, that's what he said, meaningless academic exercise. If we could only step out the picture, right? Let's say the picture back here, right? If one of my siblings or me can step out the picture and look at the picture, we'll see how cuckoo for Cocoa Pops we really are and our way of thinking, which is okay because it is what it is. Being who you are at the moment, it is what it is. But are you satisfied? Are you happy? Are you at peace? Do you have tranquility? Hell to the no, you don't. Okay, so let's go, y'all. All right. He says here, right? I was a modern man of science. I was a modern man of science. Knowledge was my higher power. I was a man of science, and that was his higher power. See, we can relate. All we ask you in our 12 spiritual programs is to be able to identify and relate. That's all. We're not trying to bring you over. We're not trying to take you back. We're trying to get you to see you. To see you. So he was able to say science was his higher power. He can relate. All right. So let's see where that takes him. All right. Then it says here, right? Given the right set of equations, life was merely another problem to solve. Given the right equations, given the right equations, are you kidding me? Huh? That life's problems could be easily solved? All righty then, what equations are you talking about? Huh? What he's talking about. But guess what? Let's find out what he says. All right. Listen, I don't doubt. I'm from Missouri. Show me. So then he goes on to say, yet my inner self was dying from my outer man's solution to life's problems, and the solution was alcohol. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. His inner self was dying. Not the physical, his inner self was dying. Why? Because of his intellect his scientific measurements, equations, right? None of them could solve all the problems. And so he went from the academic being his higher power to alcohol becoming his higher power. Now, ain't that some stuff, right? All right, so let's see how he evolves it, right? This is why the 4-step inventory is so important. So he goes on to say, right? Woo! Yet my inner self was dying from the outer man's solution to life's problems, and the solution was alcohol. In spite of my intelligence, alcohol became his higher power. It was through the unconditional love which emanated from AA people and meetings that I was able to discard alcohol as my higher power. Do you hear that? Look at that. He says, right, it was, yet, right, he was dying. He said, in spite of his intelligence, alcohol became his higher power to solutions of life, right? But in spite of his intelligence, alcohol was his higher power. It was through the unconditional love. It was through the unconditional love shown him by AA members that were at meetings that he began to see, right? That these people identified, experienced the same type of mindset he had, and had the absolute solution that it was alcohol, and then realized that it wasn't alcohol, and these people came together. And it was their common denominator that no matter how perfect we think we are, how intelligent we think we are, how good we are, alcohol became our higher power. But through the unconditional love, the unconditional love that transcended to the people in Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step meetings, that this individual began to see and hear and feel, and ultimately became his higher power. And so let's see what's happening. Okay. Listen. All right. So, okay, he says here, right, that I was able to discard alcohol as my higher power. The great void was filled. I was no longer lonely and apart from life. With all his intelligence and all his equations, all it did was disconnect him more and more and more. And because he couldn't figure it out, he resorted to drinking, right? Still couldn't figure it out, right? And he saw that something of a demonic spirit was eating him up inside until he had that knee-bowing experience and his tongue confessed that he is. Whatever that was, it brought him, like me, to the 12 spiritual principles of Alcoholics Anonymous that's been in existence nearly 90 years. Unconditional love transcended through people in the rooms of 12-step programs. Woo, Lord have mercy. All right, I ain't got but a couple minutes, right? And then he goes on to say, he was no longer lonely and apart from life. I had found a true power greater than myself. I had found God's love. He found God's love. Who God? He found God's love. I don't care what you call him. I don't care what you call him. But it's not you. It's not me. It is the Creator, right? I realized God's love when he put me on the pathway to recovery with millions of others. I realized God's love. Woo! Okay. All right, wait. Oh my God, I get so emotional. Right? So he says, I realize God's love. There is only one equation which really matters to me now. God is in AA. God is everywhere, but God is in AA. Many of us have different pathways that will lead us to that need bound experience where all of God's creation will confess with their tongue that He is. And so ours, mine happened to be provided in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Out of all the diseases I have, I'm so glad I have the disease of alcoholism, because had I not, my path would have been different. But because I do acknowledge it and accepted it, look at what God has done. Woo! God is in AA, and I ain't never leaving it. So what? It's almost time for me to go to. Oh my God! It's almost time for me to go to my meeting, and I just want to say, right, joy, joy, joy. The world didn't give it to me, and the world can't take it away. So I am inviting you. I want 333 people to share with me my 33-year anniversary on a Zoom presentation on my anniversary, February the 23rd. I also am going to invite you to see me in a fashion show, right? Tickets are $75. And it says, let me see, slay the runway, right? I told you I wanted to be a model. Look, at 67, I'm going to be a model, right? With Stephanie Accessories, okay? And then I want to also invite you to the oldies. I love the oldies. Bop, 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 cha, 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 right? And so I have a whole slew of things for the month of February. Stay tuned. I love you. And I got to go to my meeting. Enjoy in your life, because the world can't take it away. Love ya.